Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now, Wednesday, October 19th. Ian Cameron, Alex P. Smith with you, ready for another NHL card. I'm slowly starting to get the voice turning a corner. Slowly. We're getting there. We're not all the way back just yet, but
a little more tea and lemon.
A little more tea and lemon, a little less ranting. And we won't do as much as we did yesterday when we were a little upset with some of the shit that went down on Monday night. I was much happier with the way things went down last night in the NHL, which is a great segue into getting the show going, talking about last night's big Tuesday slate. A lot of fascinating matchups. We got to start in Ottawa just because of what a wild game that was. Back and forth it went. Ottawa with that, I guess, somewhat predictable start that they could jump on a Boston Bruins team playing the second of back-to-back games, a Bruin team that was shorthanded once again last night on the blue line. When you look at who was missing, Matt Grzelcyk, Charlie McAvoy, Brandon Carlo, 3 of your 6 starting defensemen not in the lineup for Boston last night. And you could kind of tell a rested Ottawa Senators team playing their home opener after 2 losses on the road to begin the season. They were ready from the opening puck drop. It didn't hurt their cause either that they had the legend, Daniel Alfredsson, come out before the game and drop the ceremonial face-off there early in the game. And Ottawa was definitely jumping early, yet they let Boston right back into the game. They tied it 3-3. The lead evaporated, and then Ottawa strikes for the next 3 goals and goes back up by 3. So it was 3-0, 3-3, 6-3. And then Boston comes back and trims the lead down to 1 before the second period ends, and it ended up 6-5 going into the third. But finally, Ottawa tightened things up at long last defensively. They scored the only goal of the third, and they prevail 7-5 in a wild one over the Boston Bruins. The New Jersey Devils, well, it was just more of the same after the first period where, you're worried, oh, here we go again. But credit to them, they rallied the troops and they battled back from a 2-0 deficit against the Anaheim Ducks and take a 4-2 victory in that game. The Columbus Blue Jackets hand the Vancouver Canucks a 4th straight loss. And now the NHL history that we were already talking about yesterday, Alex, they're on the wrong side of it. It's just gotten worse now for the Vancouver Canucks. They made history becoming the first team in NHL history to lose each of their first 3 regular season games, blowing a multi-goal lead. Well, make it the first team in NHL history to lose their first 4 regular season games, blowing a multi-goal lead. Nothing changed whatsoever. The only difference is they actually got a point this time around against Columbus, but they lose in overtime by a score of 4-3. It's just a crisis of confidence right now defensively with protecting leads for the Vancouver Canucks, and we saw it again last night. The Islanders roar past still winless San Jose 5-2. We saw the LA Kings. What a comeback by them. What a gritty, gutsy comeback. I mean, back-to-back on the road. They're now 3-0 on this road trip. They beat Nashville 4-3 in a shootout, rally from behind. Gabe Vilardi scores a goal and gets the only goal in the shootout to win that game for the Kings. I talked about that guy multiple times when we've talked about LA. He is someone to keep an eye on in terms of props as well. He's gotten off to a terrific start this season. The Buffalo Sabres, a terrific win for them, 4-2 over the Edmonton Oilers. And I said on Twitter, it's not going to be the last time Buffalo's going to pull a major upset. They are going to be capable of doing this throughout the course of the season. What a goal by Tage Thompson. Outstanding. If you didn't watch that game or didn't see the highlight, make sure you look at that goal. It was outstanding. Great individual effort. The fact that a guy 6'6", 220 pounds can move like that so swiftly on his skates, just bob and weave and move and sachet, as the great Doc Emmerich would say, sachet, swagger, as he would say as well, through the defense. Just outstanding individual effort by Tage Thompson, and a great performance in net from Eric Comrie, who I said, give this guy some opportunity in net instead of the old man Winter, Craig Anderson. And I think Buffalo's got something there. I think he can be capable, and he was phenomenal, especially in the third period when Edmonton was making their push in that game. Nice win for the Sabres. And the Flyers, how about them? 3-2 against Tampa. They remain undefeated. This one, the most shocking of all, that they were down 2-0 in this game, and they come back and score 3 unanswered. They are playing their ass off every night for Torts. I have now watched extensive portions of all Philly games so far. They are committing to defense. They're committing away from the puck to playing the right way, and they are just battling. They don't lose one-on-one puck battles very easily, if at all. We are seeing that right now from the Philadelphia Flyers, and that's what it's going to take for them. They're still an undermanned roster, but the work ethic is overcoming that right now. Great start, and they've responded to Torts. And Torts has a knack of doing this. When he first takes over a team, the team responds, and we're seeing that right now. And the last game to get to, Calgary, great comeback for a lot of us. A lot of us like Calgary last night. Flames in regulation was my best bet on the show, and they erased a 2-0 deficit and win 3-2. And that's now 2 games in a row. Alex, you want to talk about why this team can win a Stanley Cup? That's 2 games in a row where they've had a 1-goal lead. Edmonton pulled the goalie for the extra attacker. Vegas did last night, and that's 2 games in a row. They've barely given those teams a sniff with the extra attacker. They barely had a quality look, to try to tie that game. It was a great defensive effort by Calgary in both of those games to close it out and preserve the 1-goal victory. So credit to Calgary there. Alex, a crazy Tuesday night. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was, and it's interesting. We'll start with Philly because that's the game I watched. I watched both of the ESPN games all the way through, and then flipped through the others. But just shocking to see, the call that we were right on about Tampa Bay just not being in sorts early, combined with Philly. Like you said, they're buying into the Torts system. They're putting in the work and the effort. And like you said, this is a Torts kind of tradition. Wherever he goes, they buy into what he's saying at the very beginning. It's just that how long does that last? How long before they tune him out? And before guys get worn down from the system. So, obviously it's still the first week, everyone's still fresh, everyone's buying in, and they're catching teams in the right spots, and they're able to cash. And I thought it was really interesting because as that's going on, we see Vancouver, like you said, blow another 2-goal lead. And I go, isn't it interesting how Philadelphia, as bad as they were last year, they go on and get rid of Mike Yeo, and all of a sudden they're 3-0. And then where does Mike Yeo land? Vancouver. And what happens in Vancouver? They make history of blowing 4 straight 2 or more goal leads.
I had totally forgotten.
I just find that fascinating how that just happened. Same way where he left Minnesota, all of a sudden Minnesota becomes a better hockey team. Just seems like wherever this guy, he leaves St. Louis wins the Stanley Cup. Maybe Mike Yo's the problem, huh? I don't know. I've maybe been saying that for about 3 years now, but hey, there's other issues at Vancouver's got. It's not just Mike Yeo. The guys on the ice have to do the job too. And it looked like they came out hot. I said first period was the way to look at them yesterday. They did the job in the first 20 minutes, but the last 35, 40 is where they start to struggle. And they've got to find a way to overcome this. And it's not going to get any easier because they're about to go into a hungry and salacious Xcel Energy Center with a Wild team desperate for a win. So they're putting themselves in a really bad hole right now. And then when you talk about Vegas playing better, you talk about Calgary showing that determination and grit of being a team that could, like I said, be a cup contender because they play that solid lockdown defense in the last 20 minutes. Vancouver can learn a little bit from Calgary on how to play some third period defense for sure. Boston, Ottawa, I mean, like I said, this is the Ottawa team we were waiting to see. We know we weren't going to necessarily see it opening night, but we're waiting to see these 7-5, 6-4, 6-5 games from Ottawa because they have the horses offensively. They're going to struggle defensively, especially now with no Talbot. It's, the Hellberg and Forsberg combo. But, if they can outgun a team, they have chances to win. So, they're going to lose some of these boat races. They're going to win some of them. And Boston, I mean, give them credit for the guys that they're still missing and the guys that are banged up to, even hold court. Like you said, have the 3-goal trade-offs back and forth. And it sucked for me because my favorite live book, Bet Online, has had issues. And I don't know if anyone else has tried to use BOL for live plays. They're having some server issues. I actually talked to Dave Mason this morning. And he said that they're working on that. He said it might actually take a week or even 2 weeks before they get it done. But they've been having issues with all sports live. So, that's why it's all important to have multiple outs. I don't really have another out that I trust for live betting as often, but I'm going to have to kind of make that venture. So if you were able to live bet next to score with that Boston-Ottawa trend, props to you because that seems like the way Ottawa's going to play games. It's not only going to be high scoring, but it's going to be a boxing match. They're going to have the counter punches and the jabs right back and forth and play that kind of up and down tempo style.
Yeah, I had totally forgotten that Mike Yeo was brought on board the Vancouver Canuck coaching staff by Bruce Boudreau. He's an assistant there now. Mm-hmm. I'll be damned. Holy fuck. I mean, I'd totally forgotten. And of course, the last 2 years, I mean, what was the record? 17. Yeah, I'm seeing it now. 17-43 was his head coaching record with Philadelphia. Mike Yeo gets fired, obviously, after last year's just disaster. Fired in St. Louis, and then you're right, they win the Stanley Cup with Berube that same season. Philly is a defensive sieve last year with Yeo, gets fired. Torts, they look like they're at least competing defensively. He goes to Vancouver now, and they're breaking down left and right, forgetting that Alex Ovechkin's on the ice, only the guy that's been crushing the league for 16 years.
And here's the crazy thing, too. Well, here's the crazy thing, too. He's usually the guy who's all about preaching defense. His teams are always so defensive heavy that they even forget to play offense. So you think, okay, fine. The same thing in Philly. Well, okay, they bring him in to be the defensive specialist to work on the penalty kill. Maybe that's just the lane he needs to stay in. And he still hasn't been able to figure that out. So, like I said, he's arguably one of the, if not the worst coach in the league.
Well, that's the thing. He's a defensive specialist. I don't see anything special about the Canuck defense right now. So what kind of specialist are you?
Exactly.
Not much of one. That's what it looks like to me. I mean, holy goodness. Talk about it. I think there's you can't just say it's all Yeo, but my goodness, it's not a total coincidence either that what we're seeing here.
And like I said, it's not just necessarily where he goes, everything's bad. It's where he leaves, everything turns around for the better so far. Obviously, we're not going to say Philly's going to be a playoff team now because of that, but it's just an odd coincidence.
It is odd coincidence, exactly. Well, you've been saying it for years, and if you're just new to the Ice Guys this season, Alex B. Smith is king of the Mike Yeo fan club. Of course, I'm joking. He's the anti Mike Yeo fan club, man. He has been not a fan of Mike Yeo from day one. If there was a slogan, like an election slogan for Mike Yeo and Alex B. Smith's world, be just say no to Yeo.
Exactly.
That's what it would be. And unfortunately, the Vancouver Canucks did not say no to him, and their defense is pretty bad right now. And following a pattern of Yeo teams where Philly's defense sucked, and before he got fired, the Blues were losing their way in their own zone, and that's supposed to be a specialty, but there's been nothing special about defensive efforts from Yeo teams the last several years. So it is fascinating. I mean, it's a 32 team league. There's going to be situations where you lose track or don't stay on top of every single member of a team's coaching staff. Like, I know all the team's head coaches front to back, obviously, but every member of the assistant coaching staff, you're not always going to remember who's who. But I had totally blanked on Mike Yeo being brought on by the Vancouver Canucks now as an assistant to Bruce there. So incredible, just incredible. And like I say, it's not a total coincidence either. There's something to it that, look, Yeo teams have had issues defensively, and now he goes to Vancouver and they're having those issues as well. All right. That was the Tuesday recap. Let's get to Wednesday's card as usual with the Wednesday slate. It's a very light slate. 2 of the 3 games tonight are the TNT Wednesday night doubleheader. So we'll start with the first game of that TNT doubleheader. Philadelphia Flyers, Florida Panthers. Panthers minus 350 home favorites here in this game. 6.5 the total, pretty much across the board entering this contest. This looks to me a lot from a situational standpoint like Boston last night in Ottawa for the Philadelphia Flyers, where, you're playing on a back-to-back. You played Tampa Bay, and they come back. They have the big 3-2 victory over the Lightning. And as we just stated, a great effort from this team that's battling defensively, that's playing the right way away from the puck. And it's no coincidence that it's making Carter Hart's job easier, and it's making him look better because of the fact this team is just looking somewhat more structured and coherent, at the defensive end of the ice. That's the big change we've seen early on. And you look, if Philly's going to continue to win games, they are going to have to bring it like that in terms of their work ethic, in terms of their effort, in terms of their compete level on a nightly basis. They're going to have to bring it that way because they are still very much outmanned by teams like Tampa, but they can overcome it with good defensive structure and the work ethic they did last night. But now you're on a second of back-to-back games on the road. It's very difficult to sweep these Florida 2-game road trips historically for a lot of teams. So it's not going to be easy here. Florida obviously rested since Monday when they lost 5-3, their first loss of the season to the Boston Bruins. So they'll be looking to bounce back. They've got the rest advantage. However, we got some issues with Florida in terms of personnel and cluster injuries on the blue line. And we saw what that did to the Boston Bruins last night in their game against the Ottawa Senators. Multiple defensive injuries, especially to key members of that blue line. that can really hurt a team's chemistry, communication, and that's when breakdowns can happen defensively in your own zone. That's when pucks get turned over because all of a sudden you're playing with different pairings that you're not accustomed to. So the fact the Florida Panthers, they had to put Aaron Ekblad, 1 week into the season here on long-term injury reserve. I mean, that's unfortunate for the Panthers. He's got a lower body injury, huge blow. And it looks like because, excuse me, they put him on IR, it's not going to be anytime soon that we see Ekblad back. He won't be eligible to come back, Alex, till November 12th against Edmonton at the very earliest. So we are talking about a long period of time that we're going to see Ekblad out potentially here. And now Brandon Montour as well is going to be out tonight for the Panthers. So all of a sudden, you've got a shuffling of the deck chairs with the blue line. Mark Stahl is going to be paired with Gus Forsling on the top pair. You're going to have Josh Mahura, Radko Gudas on the second pair. And all of a sudden, you got two very young players on your third pair, Lucas Carlson and Matt Kierstead for the Florida Panthers. So definitely concerning, excuse me, with their blue line going into this game tonight. Up front, they're fine. No question about that. They've been pretty good so far. Philadelphia, on the other hand, look, on the second of back-to-back games, we'll have to see how things go for them. I think situationally, I was looking at Florida initially in this game, but you look at all of a sudden the defensive injuries that Florida's got going into this game tonight, and it's got me kind of pivoting to the over, believe it or not, in this game at 6.5. And I know Torts doesn't want him to play in a shootout. I get it. Right. But they're going to be fatigued. They're going to be on a back-to-back. Florida is in a situation that I like overs. I like betting overs with totals when I'm dealing with teams with not just one, but multiple defensemen out, especially key defensemen. And doesn't get more key than Aaron Ekblad. And Brandon Montour is pretty damn important to them as well. Very good veteran defenseman. So I think we're actually going to see some goals tonight in this game. And I'm going to look at the over 6.5 here with Philly and Florida. As far as the side goes, I could probably only look Florida, but here's the issue. Philly's got some magic going right now. And I know this is a tough spot, back-to-back on the road. It's not easy to sweep these two games. And they had a big win against Tampa, come back, took a lot of energy out of them. But they've got some magic to them. When they get down in a game, they don't give up. They showed that against Vancouver. They showed that again last night against Tampa. I'm not betting against that kind of karma, that kind of magic, that kind of special intangible that the Flyers have going right now. They've got confidence right now. I'm not betting against that at plus 290. I'm not going to do that. So that's why I'm passing on the side. I'm going to look toward the total here, over 6.5. Alex, what do you think here, Philly and Florida?
It's a pass for me because initially this morning I was looking at under 6.5. But then now realizing, like you said, with these cluster injuries for Florida, and also, Felix Sandstrom is more than likely slated to start. At the same time, because it's early, they still could run with Carter Hart again. If I was looking at an under, I'd obviously would want Hart over Sandstrom. But Sandstrom, keep in mind, there's not a too far off drop from him. If you look at some of the games he started last year, in his debut, he actually ended up making 43 saves on a loss. It was pretty sharp. Before he got hurt, right before opening night, he was actually looking really well, and reports are indicating that he could be a solid backup and had some quality preseason starts. So he's making that turn. He's still a young guy, so the drop off for him, it wouldn't be so massive, and especially with Florida having those injuries, you wonder if they're still going to try to play. Like I said, that Paul Maurice cycle game, or are they going to try and open up and attack a little bit more? Now we saw, where in the Boston game it was 5-3. It was more of an open kind of style, the typical Florida Panther hockey that we saw in years past. But if they don't try to, press the action too much, be a bit more conservative, knowing that they have those issues on the blue line, then it's kind of tough with that 6.5. So I'm just going to stay away from it. Over makes sense if we were talking about two healthy squads, but there's just a lot of issues and question marks here. So it's a pass for me.
He had a 3.23 goals against average last year with the Flyers, Felix Sandstrom. So if we get Sandstrom, that was his number. Those were his numbers last year. We'll see if he's in net tonight. See, the goalie that I think Hart's obviously they still think, they hope he's still going to be the franchise goalie for a long period of time. But I think next in line is not so much Sandstrom, especially from what I saw in the preseason. It's the guy that was actually getting some starts in the preseason for the Flyers. The other Swedish goalie they have. I'm trying to think of his name now. I'm blanking on it. Samuel Ersson.
Yeah.
That's the guy I think that's got the really good long-term upside for the Philadelphia Flyers. I think he was very good in the preseason, but they don't want to rush him. They want to give him a lot of starts in the AHL down at Lehigh Valley and give him that opportunity to flourish down there before they bring him up to the NHL level. But Samuel Ersson, to me, is the guy that I think long-term could be the number 2 behind Hart for this team. Not that Sandstrom's not capable, but I think just long-term, Ersson might have a little more upside. But you mentioned it. Sandstrom had that great first start he had last year. Kind of went a little up and down since then. But like I said, I think the bigger issue here is going to be Florida's defense should allow the Flyers maybe to be able to find the back of the net. And Florida can find the back of the net against anybody. We know that, and they're capable of doing that. And even though Florida, is a team I've been thinking maybe some unders other than the Islander game, and maybe that was more the Islanders, they played 4-3, 5-3 hockey, in their other 2 games, both of them 7+ goals, which would cash your over here. So over for me here, 6.5 with the Flyers and the Panthers. Keep an eye, too, on the lineups here in terms of the lineup combinations here. Travis Konechny's really feeling it early in the season for Philadelphia. So, that's not a bad option there in terms of goal props. Tkachuk is starting to get going. If you want to look down the board for a little value, playing on the third line, he's already scored at least once this year. It's Luostarinen for Cool Mint Luostarinen, as I like to say, for the Florida Panthers. So he's someone that might offer a little value, in my opinion, here for the goal score prop market. He's had a nice, decent start to the year for the Florida Panthers, and we'll see if he can keep that up tonight in this national TV game on TNT tonight as they take on the Flyers. All right, next up, we've got the Jets and the Avs. Colorado minus 230, home favorite, 6.5 the total in this one. Very interesting in terms of this game from a total standpoint, because Winnipeg's gone to the under in the first 2 games, and we kind of expected that with the coaching change to Rick Bowness. Wants to drill home better defensive play for this Winnipeg team, and that's clearly where they had their problems last year. Keeping the puck out of their net was constantly weighing them down, their inability to keep the puck out of the net. But so far this year, 2-0 to the under. They played a little bit better defensively. Dallas shut them down, though. What a great start for Dallas. They got a win against Winnipeg the other night, 4-1. So 1-1 start for the Jets. Now they go to Colorado here, take on this Avs team tonight. Colorado, of course, playing just their second home game of the season. They opened the season at home against Chicago. Then they went on the road and they split with Calgary and Minnesota back home. All 3 games have gone over the total, and I can't say I'm shocked by that. Because Colorado, to me, coming into this season, to me, they just didn't have that. And this actually shows you how well Darcy Kemper played for them last year in the regular season. To me, coming into this year, Alex, they just did not have that goalie that we can count on consistently, night in, night out, game to game, period to period. I don't know yet if they've truly got that with Alexander Georgiev and Pavel Francouz. Francouz was not very good in the one start he got against Calgary. And Georgiev was all right in the Chicago game. But again, Chicago didn't really pelt a lot of shots on him that night. And then the Minnesota game, he was all right, 3 goals, but not shut down or a lockdown performance in net by any stretch of the imagination. So, that's kind of why I'm not shocked that they've gone over in all 3 games. We know this team is still lethal offensively. They're going to be able to score goals. They've got a dangerous power play. They're dangerous 5-on-5 at even strength. They've got scoring from multiple lines, even without Gabe Landeskog. And that was the big news today for Colorado, was that Gabe Landeskog, they were hoping he was going to be back in the next couple of weeks. That's now not going to be the case. He's undergone knee surgery, and now we're talking probably a minimum of 3 months to rehab that knee for Gabe Landeskog. So he'll be out. We won't see him again till probably late January. That's what we're looking at right now in terms of the timeline for his return for the Avalanche. But again, you're not missing it. You're missing obviously what he does. He's the captain of the team, leadership, and he's good in defense, both ends of the ice, defense and offense. But specifically for the offensive component, Arturi Lekkonen's been absolutely fine playing with Nathan McKinnon on the top line. And in fact, Jared Bednar is making a little switch here. He's had Rantanen playing with McKinnon and Lekkonen a lot on the top line. Looks like Big Val Nichushkin is going to get that spot tonight on the top line with Nate McKinnon and Arturi Lekkonen, while Rantanen will go to the second line with Newhook and Evan Rodriguez. Cogliano, Comfer, and O'Connor, Anton Bleed, Jason Magna, Martin Kaut going to be the fourth line for the Avs. And of course, we know the blue. I'm telling you what, good luck. Good luck trying to score on this blue line. Good luck trying to stop this blue line at the offensive end, because we all know they can activate the defense. We all know they're defensemen that can get in on the join the rush, get in on the play offensively, and they're all healthy right now. And it's the best blue line in the NHL, period. When they're all healthy, there's no question in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind about that. It's just an outstanding blue line. Taves, McCarr, Byram, Manson, Gerard, and Eric Johnson. I mean, that's just outstanding what they've got. So Winnipeg now coming into this game after the loss against Dallas. Again, Mark Scheifele, the one concern for the Jets is you need more offense from some other guys. It's been basically the Mark Scheifele show this season so far for the Winnipeg Jets. He's been excellent. 3 goals in the first 2 games. I think you got to look at him from a prop standpoint tonight. If someone's going to contribute offensively for the Winnipeg Jets, you probably have to roll with Mark Scheifele right now. And this is a good sign for Winnipeg long-term, because there were some questions about Scheifele's commitment to the team, commitment to the franchise, whether he was happy here in Winnipeg, especially after last year just ended dreadfully for him and the team. So Rick Bowness comes on board, and all of a sudden he's looking like he's got renewed energy. He's back on the beam. He's enjoying playing for the Winnipeg Jets again, and certainly a great start. 3 goals in the first 2 games for Mark Scheifele. So probably that Mark Scheifele is probably a good goal scorer prop option tonight. Connor Ehlers, by the way, a little bit nicked up here. Game time decision for the Winnipeg Jets tonight. Due to, we don't know. We think he blocked a shot the other night and was hobbled after that. We think it might have something to do with that, but he's a game time decision night. They need more from that second line. Perfetti, PLD, and Blake Wheeler. They've been pretty quiet so far for the Jets. So they need a little bit more out of them. I have a small lean to the over here, honestly, 6.5. And the reason I do is because you look at series history. It's kind of trended that way, especially here in Colorado. 4-1. The last 5 have gone over. 4-1 to the over the last 5 here in Denver. And you look at just the meetings that these two teams played last year here in Denver. You had a 7-1 Colorado win, and you had a 6-3 Colorado win at home. Both of those games flying over the total. So I'm kind of looking in that direction here, over 6.5, nothing on the side. Alex, what do you think here with Jets and Avs?
Yeah, everybody in the chat's really got it right on point with that. Both teams to score plus 150. And also looking at, there's only Caesars is the only spot I'm seeing a 2, and I'm seeing it with juice to the under at 140. So a 2 at plus 115 or plus 120, I would take a shot with as well. Because obviously you're looking both teams to score. If it goes 1-1, you at least cash that, both teams, and then you push on the 2. But I think we could possibly see more than a couple of goals here, because the way Colorado's is rolling right now, they're playing their brand of hockey, and like I said, they can adapt to any style, but they'd rather run you into the ground by skating hard and fast and moving the puck and scoring in bunches. And Winnipeg, their team, like I said, they can counter for a period of time, but at some point, Colorado is going to just wear down on them, just like they did Minnesota, just like they did Chicago. Like I said, division games are always important to them as well. So with home crowd, they're going to be rocking and rolling. I like Colorado to definitely win this game, but there's no way you can really bet them other than going for some totals value. So I like both teams to score plus 150, and I also like that first period over 2 at plus 120 if you can find it.
All right, so I'm with you on that first period, both teams to score. I'm in on that. I'm going to get in on that too, because you look at the last year, these games, and early in some of those games in Colorado specifically, the Avalanche were a little bit asleep. I remember there was one of the games last year in Denver. Winnipeg was up 2-1 after the first period. The Jets kind of jumped on Colorado early. You didn't get a great start to the game from the Avs. I don't hate a Winnipeg first period look here in this game, honestly. I could see the Jets, being tied or having a lead even after the first period. But then sustaining it for 60 minutes has been impossible for Winnipeg in Denver. You look at that game where they had that 2-1 lead last year after the first, Alex, they lost 5-4 in overtime. There was another game too where they had a 3-0 lead. They actually had 3-0 lead as well when they played in Denver last year after the first period. Colorado scored 6 unanswered after that and won 6-3. So there you go. I mean, it's a situation where we've seen Winnipeg start fast last year a couple times in Denver, but end up losing the game. So, and I could see that here because you do have Colorado coming off a mini 2-game trip here, Calgary, Minnesota, and that's why it fits perfectly from a thought process perspective with what we're all thinking. You mentioned it, Alex. I'm on board. I agree with it fully. Jarek Rubel, our good friend Chris Otto, is doing a great job again with all those great totals charts. We're all in that alignment with this first period, both teams to score, at plus 150. We all think that there's probably a decent chance the Jets can get on the board here in the first period, and you certainly have to expect Colorado at home always. How many times is Colorado not going to score at least a goal in the first period at home this year? It's probably not going to happen very much. So that first period, both teams to score, Avs and Jets tonight, definitely makes some sense to me. I agree with that. And when you look at yesterday, we mentioned, and we're going to start doing this on the show, these both teams to score first period bets. We went 2-2. The 4 that we mentioned yesterday, we went 2-2. We won with Boston, Ottawa. We lost with Anaheim, New Jersey. We won with Buffalo and Edmonton. Both teams scored in that first period, and we lost with LA, Nashville. But all 4 of those were plus price bets, all of them. So 2-2 means profit. It means you came out ahead, profitable with that 2-2 on the 4 looks that we recommended for the both teams to score in the first period yesterday on the Tuesday card. So definitely in agreement with that. Should be interesting to see how that game plays out. All right, the last game now of this Wednesday card. This is the second of the TNT doubleheader tonight. We've got the St. Louis Blues taking on the Seattle Kraken. Pretty big line move towards Seattle because St. Louis was definitely laying closer to plus minus 150, minus 160 even at one point earlier overnight and earlier this morning. And now we're seeing all of a sudden St. Louis minus 130 here, road favorites, 6 being the total across the board in this one. I think this could be a tricky spot for St. Louis, and I think Seattle, look, they've been kicked around a little bit. It's been kind of a disappointing start to the homestand year, and you would not expect this because, Climate Pledge Arena is supposed to be giving this team a boost. And, oftentimes last year, they were able to step up and play some better games on home ice, and that hasn't happened here in their first 2 home games. In fact, their only win was against LA on the road, 4-1. They're 1-3 so far, 0-2 on this current homestand at Climate Pledge, losing 5-2 to Vegas, 5-1 to Carolina. However, pretty damn good hockey teams you're playing, especially Carolina. The one thing about that game is, Seattle, you think, where's their offense? 3 goals in the 2 home games. Well, Vegas is playing pretty solid defensive hockey early in the year. And Carolina, I don't know if there's a team playing better defensive hockey than they are to begin the year. They've been absolutely terrific. At the defensive end of the ice, they've gotten a solid, sturdy goaltending from the Frederik Andersen and Antti Ranta duo. Carolina's been just on point, in terms of their defensive attention to detail early in the season. So I don't want to penalize Seattle too much for only scoring 1 goal. I still think there's a better offensive hockey team. I mean, certainly roster-wise, personnel-wise, you'd have to say that they are. With Matty Beniers now a full-time NHLer in the number 1 center spot. They bring in Andre Burakovsky and Oliver Bjorkstrand, who have already scored goals. 2 goals, 3 assists for Burakovsky already this year. You talk about player props tonight. That's one I'm eyeing here in this game. And didn't Burakovsky, when he was with Colorado last year, play pretty well against St. Louis? I think he did. So I think definitely Burakovsky's a good look for Seattle in terms of player props, whether it's to score a goal or register a point. I think that's definitely a good direction to go with here in this game. So I'd expect Seattle's goal scoring to get going a little bit here in this game tonight. We do have goaltending confirmations here. By the way, it's Hellebuck and Georgiev. I forgot to mention that, but that's your goalie matchup confirmed for Winnipeg, Colorado. For this game, Jordan Binnington for Seattle, and it'll be Martin Jones back in net for Seattle. And I can't believe I'm living in a world where right now I've got 2 goalies on my hockey team, and I might have more confidence in Martin Jones. But that's where I'm at right now because, look, Philip Grubauer is having a tough time again. And this is a guy that did not play well in year 1 with Seattle, and I was willing to give him a mulligan, saying, okay, you're not playing with, Makar and Byram and Devon Taves and all these great defensemen. You're playing against, with a weaker blue line, less depth on it now. And he had a bad season, a rough season, and he struggled to adjust to it. But I said, okay, year 2 now, they're a little bit sturdier now as a franchise overall up front and on the blue line. That maybe now Philip Grubauer can settle in, get comfortable, and get back to the way he played in Colorado. Maybe not quite that level, but to me, I came into this year thinking Grubauer isn't as good as he was in Colorado, but he's not as bad either as he was last year in Seattle. And yet he's having a rough start. There's no other way around it. He's fighting the puck. He's spitting up rebounds, bad ones. He's got a 4.26 goals against average, 851 save percentage so far this season. Those are atrocious numbers. And I think if you're Dave Haxtell, you're in a spot right now where you've actually got to play Jones because long term, I don't think Martin Jones is going to sustain what he's done so far. He's had a bad couple of seasons in a row. Long term, I think it's tough to count on him. But so far, he's been a little bit better than Grubauer, and that's probably why Haxtell feels I got to give him the start tonight. And even his numbers are 3.6 goals against Alex and 882 save percentage. So it's not like those are off the charts numbers. Those aren't really good, but they're absolutely better than Grubauer's right now. So this is another one where I think you can make a case for the total here. We talk about St. Louis this year, where they are not that same lockdown 2-1-3-2 team anymore. They're not. They've got offense. They've got a lot of offense. Robert Thomas, Kloshev, Barbashev, Buchnevich, Tarasenko. You go on down, Ryan O'Reilly, Auto Parts, Braden Shen, Brandon Saad, Jordan Kyrou. I mean, this is now an offensive hockey team more than a defensive hockey team. We saw it last year. They get off to a nice start, 5-2. That game goes over the total. I was on that Blues and Blue Jackets over the total on Saturday. I like over 6 here with St. Louis and Seattle. I think this is a night where the Kraken can get on board offensively a little bit. I think you'll see St. Louis as a team defensively. Last year, they didn't play as well in that end of the ice on the road. Neither did Binnington. Binnington was a little more shaky on the road, even though he was good in the playoffs too last year. Let's not forget the regular season was mundane. The regular season was erratic in terms of Binnington's performance. So I think this is a night where Seattle gets their offense going a bit after playing tough teams that are playing good defense to start the year, Carolina and Vegas. I think they're going to have that opportunity to score tonight. And I think St. Louis, look, like I say, I think offensively it's a damn good hockey team, and I'm not going to totally rely on Martin Jones to shut the door completely. So I like over 6 here, Blues and Kraken with a lean to Seattle here as well as a home dog. What do you think here, Alex? Blues, Kraken?
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that over 6. I like it a lot, especially now with Martin Jones confirmed. I get, he's been the better of the 2 goalies, but that's not saying much, and he's still not a guy you want to just fully trust in that he's going to, play some lockdown, step defense and give you, a game where they win and he lets in 2 goals or fewer. I think Jones is still susceptible, and Binnington, like you mentioned, his numbers on the road weren't that good. We know the inconsistency that he has put up during the regular season at times. So this screams to me over, but not only do I like the full game over 6, I like the second period over at 2, minus $1.10. This is also over at BetMGM, where I found this. In 110 games played, 84 of them have had at least 2 or more goals in the second period. I got that courtesy of Chris Otto with his charts. You can find that on Twitter and also on our Patreon page, patreon.com/iceguys. That we're seeing a change now where teams aren't getting off to the hot first period starts all the time. What they're doing is they're playing a bit more conservative early, trying to feel out things in the first 10, 15 minutes of play. And then they're making those adjustments in the locker room, coming back out, and we're seeing the offense get ripping and roaring in the middle frame of the game. So I'm going to go with that over 2, minus $1.10. Another thing, too, St. Louis, the one game they played, 13 shots for, 13 shots against in that span. And Seattle has averaged giving up over 2 goals in the second period as well. So second period over 2 minus $1.10, full game over 6 minus $1.05.
That's an excellent point. We're seeing a lot of games where the goal explosions are occurring in the second period and especially the third period. We're seeing that a lot here in the first week of the season. So it's true. It maybe be a little more cautious, or at least balance out your betting action between, if you like overs, the first period, and more geared toward the full game overs until we see, signs that there's more offensive production taking place in the first 20 minutes of these games. So definitely something to keep an eye on. And excuse me. Yes, Burakovsky, definitely, like I say, one of the props. I think Beniers might get on the board too. He's got only 1 goal, but he does have 4 points so far this season for the Seattle Kraken. I think he's probably a solid candidate to get on the score sheet for the Kraken tonight in this game, or at least get on, maybe find the back of the net specifically here in this game tonight. St. Louis is always one of those teams where really, you could go in a bunch of different ways with them in terms of offensive production. It's different every single night. Maybe even Jaden Schwartz for Seattle, because we know that former team angle, right? Jaden Schwartz, many years with the St. Louis Blues, now a member of the Seattle Kraken. So maybe Jaden Schwartz is able to find the back of the net too. It's uncanny how often that happens, really, when you've got, look at Frank Vetrano the other night for the Anaheim Ducks against the New York Rangers. He scored one of their goals. Former Ranger, now with the Ducks, and he scored against New York. It's just something about it when you're facing your former team. You want to make an impact. So maybe Jaden Schwartz gets on the board as well for the Kraken tonight in that game. Yeah, I mean, when again, I said it about the Blues that, it's just pretty impressive how so many different players can be a difference maker for them on a nightly basis. And we had 2 goals from Tarasenko, and he's probably the one I like the most here tonight, goal scoring prop wise for the Blues, because he's a streaky scorer. Like, he could go, in a 5-6 game tailspin, not do much, but then when he's going, you can ride Vladdy Tarasenko for like 5-6 games in a row with him to score a goal. And he got 2 in the game against Columbus on Saturday night for the St. Louis Blues. So, that is why I think he might be worth a look tonight. I say Jake Neighbors as well. Hello, neighbors. Won't you be my neighbors? Jake Neighbors, I should say, for the St. Louis Blues. I think there's some serious under the radar bargain bin prop value with this guy. I think he's going to be a nice addition to this Blues roster, and just another weapon. Sees the ice well, no question about that. So keep an eye on him for sure. Jake Neighbors here for the St. Louis Blues. He also scored a goal in the victory against Columbus. And even though he's on the third line with Shen and Barbashev, very, very offensively capable. And don't sleep on him. And in fact, I'm going to bring up the price before we sign off here, specifically on Neighbors, because I know you're going to be able to get a really, really good price with him in terms of scoring a goal here tonight in this game. Yeah, with Jake Neighbors, you can get as high as plus 425, plus 450 to score a goal tonight.
Wow.
Jake Neighbors. I think that's worth a couple of bucks. These are the nights where I'm a little more, I expand the bankroll when it comes to the props, because it's a limited card. There's only 3 games. So I will sprinkle a bit more on props than I will on a bigger card like a Tuesday or a Thursday. So Jake Neighbors, to me, for St. Louis, absolutely outstanding price there at plus 450 at some books to score a goal tonight for the St. Louis Blues. All right, great stuff. A great show, great analysis. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. As always, we appreciate it. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. We've got Mike Hamilton, played in the ECHL for a long time. He will be joining us tomorrow, and he's an avid bettor as well, and not hockey, football, you name it. So good to have Mike Hamilton on for the first time tomorrow on the Ice Guys show on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll have Nate Rapensky, was with us once in the playoffs last year. He'll be joining us Friday. Kyle Bond, same thing. He was on during the playoffs with, I think it was Vito and I that were with Kyle Bond last year during the playoffs. Mm-hmm. He will be with us on Saturday with me, Alex, and Vito on Saturday's show. So we are very much looking forward to that breaking down a big Saturday NHL card. We're going to move that show back to 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, just because Kyle said that's when he'll be ready to go. So 12:30 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. And don't forget, next Tuesday, first live betcast of the season for the Ice Guys at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We're very much looking forward to that. It'll be a big Tuesday slate. The Daily Show that day, next Tuesday, we got Jay Rosehill on for the first time as well at 2 p.m. Eastern for the Tuesday show during the day. So lots to look forward to here. I'm still waiting on our Jimmy Murphy. I mean, I'm waiting on him to get back to me. When do you want to be on the show, my friend? I mean, you're welcome anytime, but we'll get Jimmy on. Jimmy's busy. Jimmy's taken over as Boston Hockey Now lead dog, if you will. And he's traveling with the team pretty much again, the Bruins again. So, it's time consuming. It is. But we will have Jimmy on the show. No question about that. Whenever it fits his schedule, we will get Jimmy Murphy on the Ice Guys. No question about that.
And I put on we'll put the links in the chat as well. We'll have, of course, follow us on Twitter at @the_Ice Guys. I put, Ian at Bovano, me at AX Sports. Because we got a whole lot of new people that are watching and so forth. And definitely check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Ice Guys. We got a bunch of bonus content. I just updated my goalie charts on there. We're going to start doing some bonus videos coming up soon. Tomorrow's the release of the reverse retro jerseys by Adidas. So I will be ranking those 1 through 32, and I'm going to do a video talking about those. And then we got some other fun things that are coming up down the road. And we're going to also do some charts. We're also going to start tracking these streaks of these player props, goals and points, shots on goal, how many games in a row. We'll have those charts up there in the next few days as well. So there's a ton of good information and some fun stuff mixed up along the way. Patreon.com/Ice Guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Check out the Patreon page. It's loaded with content every day. Power ratings from me weekly, goalie charts, totals charts, daily card for the show. Make sure you check that out. And we have good news, too, from a guest standpoint. Some of the guests that, I sent out a mass email, everybody, you want to join us again on the show, let us know. And we've got interest from a lot of people. I mean, Eddie Lack wants to join us again at some point this year. Carl Alsner, Bobby Ryan wants to join us again this year at some point. So looking forward to having them back on the show as well. So we got lots of stuff planned on the show with the Patreon page, betcasts, you name it, the merch store. Don't sleep on that as well. The Ice Guys merch.
Free shipping for the next 5 days if you buy everything at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yeah, there you go. Check that out. Great merch there to get you set for another season of the NHL and, of course, another season of the Ice Guys show. All right, let's try to get you set with some more best bet winners here for this card. Bounce back for me. The Canucks wrecked my streak in cruel fashion, painful fashion on Monday night. But I got back on track last night. Flames in regulation. We'll see what we can deliver tonight for best bets here with this very short 3-game card. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, bounce back for you. I got to turn the whole fucking car around. It's been pretty bad for my best bets, but I'm hoping to do that tonight here with St. Louis and Seattle. We're going to go over 6 minus $1.05. I talked about, the goaltending. It's a bit spotty. Bennington and Jones, they aren't exactly the pillars. This isn't Shesterkin and Vasilevsky from opening night by any means. I think both these teams are susceptible to getting some goals and trading back and forth. So we will go with the Blues and Kraken over 6 minus $1.05. That's the late night game for my best bet.
All right, there it is. St. Louis, Seattle, over 6. Best bet here for Alex B. Smith. My best bet for this Wednesday card, it's tricky with just the 3 games. It's one of those nights where I don't love anything, but I like, a couple of things. I'll go with the Winnipeg, Colorado, over 6.5 in this one. I'm just it's really strictly series history related. We saw 7-1 and we saw 6-3 in the last 2 meetings between the Jets and the Avs last year in Denver. Both of them flew over the total. I could see that being the case here tonight in this matchup. And again, Colorado 3-0 to the over this season. They've scored goals in bunches, but I'm not sold yet on the Georgiev-Francouz combo. Georgiev, by the way, will be the starter in net tonight. So let's go with Jets Avs over 6.5 for my best bet here for this Wednesday NHL card. All right, that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. That's a great point, Po Buddies Nerf. Before we say goodbye, self-imposed ban on the Canucks. You got to bet one of those damn teams tomorrow night playing each other. Neither one can get out of their way defensively, own way defensively right now. Canucks and maybe just bet the over in that game. it personally.
Probably.
But we'll probably get to that tomorrow on the Thursday show. It is a loaded card tomorrow. We're looking forward to it with our guest Mike Hamilton joining us as well. We've got 12 games to look forward to on the Thursday slate, and we will break them all down for you tomorrow right here on the Ice Guys show. We appreciate all of you tuning in. And a reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. Check out the podcast on all those platforms whenever you cannot tune in live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.